Hi, I've been told that my story belongs on The Secrets of Mormon Wives. I have not seen that show, so I don't actually know. You can tell me. I don't know if they're even associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I have no clue. But what I went through was completely unbelievable. I've been through a lot of unbelievable experiences, and I never ever saw this coming. I was married to 20 years with someone who is a Lemuel. I'm a Sam, full on Sam. I don't do very well at preaching the gospel. I'm great with perfecting the saints. I love teaching. I've been teaching most of the last 20 years, kids and youth, and I absolutely love it. It's the best calling ever. Right now I'm in the primary, not teaching, and I miss it. But anyway, I believe in following the Savior. I know that He was redeemed for me. That's my goal, is to make it to Him again. And read my scriptures. I listen to the prophets. I quote the prophets all the time. But married to a Lemuel. Lemuel doesn't try and lead Sam astray. Sam maybe tries to lead Lemuel, but it doesn't work very well. Lemuel believes he's always right, and he has no accountability. And he doesn't try to lead Sam away, but he will insult Sam every possible chance. So it made 20 years miserable. Well, I never saw this coming, but Lemuel met Laman. Laman is a girl, and I do mean girl. She's, I think, 25, and we're in our 40s. I'm 45. He's still 44. I'm almost 45. He's 7 months younger than me. Anyway, this girl might be 25, and she looks just like his mommy. He's complained to me about how I have a dent in my back. And for those who don't know, that's a waist. He thinks it's wrong and gross and disgusting to have a waist. Well, this girl definitely has no waist. Her facial features they look a little better than his mom. They're not quite as harsh, but they are masculine, and his mom has masculine features, which is fine. Some women do, and I've seen women who can pull it off beautifully. His mom's not one of them. Neither is this girl, just to give you an idea. And to give you an idea what he looks like, go ahead and get into, a program that can create pictures and generate an image of a tall, broad man who is unattractive. It will generate him, I promise. Anyway, I don't know how to generate her because her features are not quite as drastic. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I didn't actually know what was happening until it was over. Lemuel worked for the temple, I should say, of all places, in St. Louis, Missouri. So those who are familiar with St. Louis, Missouri may know what happened, or, familiar with people who worked at the temple may know what happened. I still don't, but I know some things. So she started in April. I don't know if it was the beginning or the middle, sometime after school let out. She just graduated from BYU, Idaho, which we both went to. I started at Rick's, so did he. We graduated when it was BYU, Idaho. So she went there, and she said she studied psychology. Actually, I got to see her resume, and I was like, wow, that's really impressive. Yeah, you should hire her. It was between, and then the other two were between these other two boys that caused some problems, actually. The one boy, I was like, you have to bring him back because he's worked for the temple. He's been a great worker, and I don't know if he's a Lemuel or Sam, but he's definitely not a leader. Anyway, so he brought the other kid back and didn't hire the kid of the security guard, I believe, is who the other guy, and he decided not to hire him. Well, he should have done just hire the two boys. But anyway, so I'm going to keep trying to say her name is Laman because that's what she is. Laman, what I didn't know at the time, started to throw herself at Lemuel. Apparently that's what she does. One of the many things that she does. And if I didn't know that the Antichrist was going to be a man, I would say that she's it. She's pure evil, and I am not the first one that said that. I was suspecting it, and then I heard several people around me who had dealt with her and were like, yeah, she's pure evil. Cult leader, evil. Anyway, so yeah, she throws herself at every man she can. I mean, maybe that's what unattractive women who are middle children do. I have no idea. I was an oldest child. Everything was perfect. I never threw myself at a man ever. Well, I don't know. I wasn't very good at flirting, let's just say, but I never, like her, never all on threw myself at a man and said weird things to him that, anyway. Yeah. So what I didn't know was I recognized in her she had some similar personality characteristics to me. She was a hard worker. She took on several aspects that I also did. Like something's not working, I moved to something else, and it looked like she'd done that. She worked in several different places, and I had done that too. And I was like, she's gonna be a hard worker. So anyway, she started, and right around the time she started, Lemuel started coming home with some unusual language, which I didn't think about. But what I did realize that he's spending a lot of one-on-one time with her, and he's ignoring me, which he's never put my needs ahead of anything. But now he's putting her needs ahead of my daughter. My daughter has a lot of special needs, and it's hard. I was operating as a single mom her whole life, 13 years. I was married for 20. We couldn't have kids. There's another story there. Anyway, it's hard. She cannot be left alone. And he doesn't earn enough money for me not to work, so he would have to come home so I could work and try and take care of some of the aspects of parenting her. And when this Layman started, he wasn't interested in that anymore. And she came, and I actually met her a couple times. She came across as someone who had no self-esteem and had money because she would buy the boys at work presents a lot. So the reason that Lemuel pursued me was because I had no self-esteem. I had a car and I had a cell phone, and I was putting myself through college. I didn't have a lot of money, but looking back on it, I did, because I was able to put myself through college without a loan and without help from my parents, other than I stayed with them during the summer. So anyway, by the time we had married, he had taken over my car and my phone and my money. And I thought that's what he was doing. And so I sent her a text. I was trying to keep it loving and uplifting because I didn't know who she was at the time. I was like, okay, look, this is why he's pursuing you, is because you have money and you have no self-esteem. You need to stop dating. I'm like, you're spending one-on-one time with him, and okay, you're not dating, but to someone who doesn't know, this is dating, and it needs to stop. And I said, if you just have to date him, can you wait until I can get a divorce? What I didn't know was that she was throwing herself at him, telling him sex stories. At the temple, of all places, she's telling him sex stories. And he came home with one of them, and at one point she was like, yeah, you don't tell Lindsay this. And he'd constantly come home with, something happened, but I can't tell you about it because she doesn't want you to know. And it happened a lot. She was telling him stuff all summer. And anyway, back to April, after I sent that text, instead of just stopping, she took it to HR, so that helped her cause, to show how evil I am and, how amazing they are, right? So it turned into a scandal because bosses are not supposed to date their employees, for one. Lemuel was Layman's boss. And Lemuel was married. So that's another scandal. But then, the church, we just like marriage, right? Who cares about the wife you're married to? Neglect her. Find someone else, neglect your child. And then once you marry her, you're doing nothing wrong because then you're putting your wife ahead of everybody else, right? We have some wrong traditions in this church. And I think neglecting your wife is one of them. Wives are supposed to support their husbands. But we forget to say that men also take the same obligations when they get married. When you get married at the temple, you are told you have to support your wife. It's one of the covenants you're making with God and your wife. And I know that it's not all men, but the one I was married to just heard that I'm supposed to be his slave and he can do whatever he wants and does not have to support me at all. Anyway, yeah, so that's a tradition, by the way, that we've got to stop. You need to recognize that both spouses have to support each other and put each other first. And I don't mean, ignore your child to the point that they're dying. You take care of your children, but you have to put your wife and your child ahead of your coworkers, ahead of other friends. You cannot spend one-on-one time with another woman and have it be okay. According to Lemuel, it's okay because she needed him. It didn't matter that I needed him. I was his wife. I meant nothing. So anyway, like I said, what I didn't know is that she was throwing herself at him. And so they agreed to stop talking to each other at work. And I was like, well, you don't have to do that, because I didn't know who she was at the time. I'm like, you need your coworkers and it's okay to talk. I shouldn't have said that. If I had, I'm sure it still would have been the same, because they can't stop themselves. She has to throw herself at everybody she meets. It's just who she is. Evil. Anyway, and there was also one of that is that it was a cult thing. Cult leaders are pretty powerful. It's like a drug or something. So people are in the cult. They act like they're on drugs. And I was not the first person that said that. This other boy that was brought back, he started dating this girl. He came back sometime after the 30th of April. So the 30th of April was our wedding anniversary, and that's the day I sent her a text asking her to stop dating him. Also the day that she took it to HR. And I heard from other people who were at the temple all the time that she was in meetings all day about this. And this one particular person, I don't want to bring his name in, he's amazing. This one particular person went to my husband and said, "You've got to stop associating with this girl. She's evil." And I didn't even know she was evil at the time. And he didn't know that she was in meetings about me at the time. He just got this sense that she was pure evil. So the rest of the summer, like, Lemuel wasn't even allowed to talk to this man. Like, every time he did, cult leader Layman would get after him. And anyway, I didn't, again, know this until last week, actually. And it's been months since he's been gone. At one point, he went over to this guy's house after he left me and just did, I don't know, chat. Maybe, I have no idea why he's over there. I didn't ask. But Lemuel's phone rang and it was Layman. And he's like, "Oh, I can't answer this. She can't know where I am." Seriously, why is he still seeing her? Like, really, this guy was like amazing. And I thanked him for still being in Lemuel's life because he is a powerful influence for good. And he's wise. And I hope that, he says right now they're only talking about football, but I hope it'll lead to something else. Maybe give Lemuel a chance to repent. I don't know if he actually will. So anyway, I also heard a few things similar to other people that worked from other people that worked at the temple. So he's not the only one. I'm not the only one. This girl is pure evil. Anyway, their relationship continued all summer. At one point, so this boy that she actually was okay to date, like it's okay to date coworkers at the temple, which I think that needs to stop, by the way. So okay to date coworkers at the temple. So they were dating. They were open about the fact that they were dating. And she pushed him away from his family. He was a young man too. I think he was 27. His parents are my neighbors, and they are the salt of the earth. They are absolutely amazing. And she convinced him that they were evil and they were controlling and abusive and just all these awful things. And the fact that he believed her, it says a lot. And then of course she convinced Lemuel that I was controlling because I didn't know why. I read an article about 2 weeks ago from Forbes magazine that said that you can't stop your partner. They use the word partner, but they're referring to romantic partner or marriage partner or whatever. You can't stop them from seeing who they want to see because otherwise you're controlling. I'm like, oh, that's where that's come from. I told him he can't see her. I told her he can't spend one-on-one time with her, so I'm controlling. And she got her education from BYU Idaho in the psychology department. I'm pretty sure she wasn't paying attention in class. And she was just reading this Forbes guy. Or maybe she's a student of this Forbes guy who, I don't know, did a guest spot at the school. I don't know where she had this information, or even if she was a psychology major. Anyway, yeah. So much frustration, and I can go on, and I'm trying to stop myself. But you get the idea. She's evil, and she's now manipulating and leading a cult with these two boys. And so during the summer, because she had pushed this boy away from his parents, he decided to go live somewhere else, which is fine. I mean, he's 27-year-old boys often live away from their parents, and it's a good thing. And they agreed to that too. Like, they agreed. They thought the same thing. They're like, I mean, it's fine. Actually, I think my information came from somewhere else quoting them, but I'm sure they were fine with the fact that he was leaving home, because that is normal. People grow up and move on, and it's not healthy when they stay put. So, I mean, when they stay put with living with their family members, it's not, you can't grow from that. You move on. So he, rather than just finding an apartment, he moved to a hotel for a little while, which was fine. And then he decided, but I thought he was going back to school in the fall. So I was, yeah, that's fine. That's great. It's not the safest, but it's something. But then he decided to move to an apartment, even though he had like a month left until school. And this was now June. This was the end of June. It was the last Friday. And Brandon told me that he wanted to go help this guy move in. I'm like, he's moving from a hotel to an apartment. He's one guy, he has a suitcase. He's like, no, it's going to take all night. So I stopped working early to let Lemuel go help him move. someone explained to me how that works. Like, why would you need to help someone move, and why would it take all night if you have maybe 1-2 suitcases, most extra clothes, I don't know, pillows? Like, I can't think of a scenario that would make it so one person would need that much help. And even if he lived on the 4th floor, which according to Lemuel, he lived on the 4th floor. But I mean, hotels, what if that was on the 5th floor? I don't even know. Like, I cannot think of a situation when you would need 2 people to help you that would take all night long. I don't understand. So someone please explain it to me. I never got a straight answer from Lemuel. This kid's parents did say, if I didn't know any better, I would say he was on drugs. Maybe they were, but then cult things often mimics drugs. Were they doing something really bad? I don't know. I mean, they're all still alive, so they weren't committing suicide, but I mean, what if they were talking about it? She is suicidal from what he says. That's why she needed him, is because she's suicidal. And now all of a sudden, he's never contemplated suicide in the whole 20 years I've known him. I don't know if he did before I met him. But I've never known him to want to commit suicide. And all of a sudden, since talking to her in about May, he started talking about how he wanted to commit suicide. So I don't know what was happening that night. So someone who's had more depths with suicidal people or cults or drugs, or I don't want to say what I'm thinking because my daughter's close by. Anyway, if someone has more experience with that, let me know. What are they doing like that? Anyway, so I did have a problem with him being gone, especially since I had to, stop everything I'm doing to support him in this. Anyway, so that was a Saturday. I don't know if I said Friday, but that was a Saturday. Sunday was fairly normal. I don't know what time he got in. He probably late midnight. Sunday was normal. We went to church, and then normal day, go to bed. He sneaks out. Sunday night, he snuck out to go see Layman. Someone tell me how that's right. In his mind, it's right. I've gone through my mentally several times, driving myself nuts. I don't really need to do that anymore, other than to just tell my story, because this isn't normal, and I want other people to recognize the warning signals. So he sneaks out to see her on Sunday night. On Monday, he tells me that she's broken up with this kid, and he doesn't want to be married to me anymore. And he's like, oh, don't. And I was like, I stayed married to him for 20 years because he made me give up everything I ever wanted. He made me quit what I was doing. I put myself through school trying to be a PE teacher, and he made me quit. So the program was dropped, but I could have just transferred to another school, but he wouldn't let me. I gave everything for him, and I didn't know how to earn money, and especially with my daughter, after she came in, her needing 24/7 support. I don't know how to earn money and still support her. And so I stayed. He didn't want that anymore. He didn't want the responsibility. I didn't know till later, because he's like, yeah, I'll send more money than what I should. Because I know, you got to take care of Jasa. That was a lie, or maybe a well-intentioned something, because he sent money a little bit, like that month. So July, he sent a little bit of money in July, and then he decided, oh, I don't have to send money because I spoke with professionals who said that we're not divorced, I don't have to send money. So now we're on abandonment, and apparently abandonment is okay. So it doesn't send any money. And not only that, but back in July, he would just not show up. And I'm like, I have to work. We worked this out. You said you would come get her on Saturday so I could work. And he's like, no, Abigail needed him. Layman needed him. So, I was like, well, you have to pay me babysitting money. This is my lovely daughter right now. You have to pay. And he said no. And I spoke to a lawyer, and I'm okay. I just spoke to a lawyer, and she said that you have to pay babysitting money if you don't show up. So he paid one day for one of the times that he didn't show up, he did pay for that babysitting money. And after that, he told me he didn't have to because professionals told him that he didn't, because I'm the mother. So I'm not babysitting her. Well, you're stopping me from working. And babysitters for kids like her cost $35 an hour. That's more than I can earn at this point. So anyway, professionals, I'm assuming, were laymen who went to school to be a psychologist. And by the way, a school psychologist. So now all of your children are in danger. So if you're in Missouri, I want you to email me. If you're in Missouri and you teach in school, I want you to email me or, message me, and I'll email you so I can give you the information of the person to not hire, because she will manipulate your children. She will throw herself at all of the men teachers that work there and break up all those families. You don't want that. So please, if you're in Missouri, comment or something, and we'll email back and forth so you know who not to hire. Anyway, so yeah, June 30th, he said he was done, and it's now the end of November. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and he still doesn't have the need to pay anything. He did change a few things, like for a month, he was not allowed to hug my daughter at all. She wouldn't let him hug my daughter. And now, okay, those who are involved in cults, tell me why this is okay. Like, how can one person forbid someone from hugging their own daughter? Like, she needs hugs. Like, that's her number one thing that she needs is hugs. Like, ask anybody at school. She's hugged everybody there. Some of them get hugged several times a day because she so desperately needs the hugs. She needs that physical contact and that knowledge that she's loved. And so her and I hug all the time. We cuddle all the time. Anyway, for a month, he wasn't allowed to hug her. He is now. So something did happen, but she tells me that they still text. So something did happen. I just don't know what. And he's now allowed to hug her. Maybe Layman just gave him permission to hug again. I don't know. Whatever that is, I guess I won that battle because now he can hug her again. But anyway, it's still messy. And I don't actually know what's happening, that I ever really knew what's happening. I just knew what was happening with me, and he was constantly accusing me of being wrong. I did complain once to my sister-in-law about how I didn't get any support from him ever. And she's like, oh, it's not his fault because his dad didn't support his mom. And I'm like, his dad had a really good paying job. And I happen to know that his mom, like, whenever she didn't want to cook, they just go out to eat. They went out to eat 2 nights a week. Yeah. And she's like, oh, there's more to supporting than just financial. I'm like, yeah. But I'll take just financial because, that'd be better if he had a good full-time job and still neglected me. That would still be better. Yeah, I'd be upset about being neglected, but at least I'd be able to provide for my daughter. But yeah, my parents died. I had to face that all alone. His dad died, and I moved across the country to support him. So again, he still thinks he's perfect. So I was married to someone for 20 years who's the Lemuel, thinks he's perfect and has no accountability. And when she said that, I remembered that every time I complained about him to his mom, she'd say, it's not his fault because. And by the way, his mom hates me, so I'm pretty sure I feel good about myself now because she's not a good person, and I'm okay with her hating me. Like, it's great. She used to threaten me about how she'd drop contact, but then she would constantly get in my face, want to talk to me, and would I just want to see my granddaughter, but she would totally ignore her granddaughter just to talk to me. Why? Anyway, I have lots more stories of that later, but anyway, so yeah, there's my unbelievable story. Someone who's working for the temple started dating someone else who was working for the temple and left his wife over it, and they did lose their jobs. There was all those scandals going on. They were all put under investigation a couple times. There was another guy who was working there who had a tendency to just not show up, and of course, Lemuel tells me that it's got something, investigation has something to do with the absences, and he was allowing these absences. I'm like, you can't force someone to go to work. But this other kid that was often not coming to work wasn't under an investigation. He occasionally hung out with the cult, but he didn't seem to join the cult. So anyway, not only did he not lose his job, he got promoted. He got Lemuel's position. And he's still young, and he didn't even, Lemuel had been a horticulturist at BYU, Idaho. That's what he went to school for. And so, he says he knew what he was doing. I don't know. I'm not a horticulturist, but I know what he does in the yard isn't right. And he wouldn't let me have any say in the yard. So anyway, but this guy is now the supervisor there. And near as I can tell, he's doing a good job. So clearly the absences wasn't the issue. And I heard from a couple people that this girl, Layman, was going to lose their job. And so she actually quit. And I was like, yeah, that's good, because I knew she was going to lose her job anyway. I wasn't given the reasons, but I knew that she was going to lose it. And I was told that she was throwing herself or messing with the men inside the temple. So I'm guessing it might have something to do with that. And Lemuel, who has never written more than a page in his life, during the second investigation, wrote a 12-page paper on all his grievances with the temple. He did not write that. There's absolutely no way. Before this girl started, he only had a couple grievances. Lack of employees. He's right. They didn't do very well keeping employees. They don't pay. So if you're listening to this and you have jurisdiction over paying employees, if you want employees, you need to pay better. You got to be competitive. I mean, I guess you think you're competitive, but you're not retaining good employees if you don't pay well, because then it's the employees who don't think much about themselves who are applying. The ones who know their worth and know what they can do get the better jobs. So pay better and you'll retrain better people. Anyway, so yeah, he's right. They didn't have enough employees, and that was his biggest grievance. Really, it was the only thing that he consistently complained about. Every now and then he complained about a boss or something like that, but that was the only thing he consistently complained about, was the lack of people. And now all of a sudden he's got 12 pages, and he's never written more than a page in his life. He wanted to write a cookbook once, and he made me write it, and he didn't even know how to talk. Like, I was writing it for him, and I gave up eventually because he was making all these inconsistencies. And I'm like, instead of calling something peanut butter, you want to call it nut butter. I'm like, what does that even mean? And I kind of got tired of writing the words nut butter like 6 million times because it was in every recipe. And anyway, so the cookbook never happened. But I don't think we even got to 12 pages on that cookbook. Just to give you an idea, he can't even dictate 12 pages. So she dictated it for him. She wrote it for him. She probably corrected his punctuation. And on the subject, there was this kid, when she drove him away from his parents, wrote a text to his parents. And, you know, they all swear up and down that he's the one that wrote it. But according to his mom, there was a semicolon in there, and he's never used a semicolon. So anyway, this girl goes to whatever means she needs to make sure she gets what she wants, and which is to throw herself at men. I don't even know why she's doing it. Like, I don't know why. Those who have done it, why do you throw yourself at every man? Explain to me. Like, I see no purpose in that. I mean, maybe if you're attractive and then there's a really awesome man that you want to be with, I don't know. I don't know. But my neighbor was a good kid. So I could see why she might be interested in him, but I don't understand why she was interested in what I was married to. He wasn't nice, wasn't attractive. I did marry him, but that's another story. I didn't think I had a choice, by the way. So anyway, yeah, there's my unbelievable story. Someone who was working for the temple had an affair and got away with it. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope you recognize warning signs of when your husband is behaving unexpectedly. Maybe it's a midlife crisis, so maybe you can reach out. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But if he starts coming home with sex stories, I think that should be a red flag. If you're hearing from other people that this person he's associated is not a good person, I think there's another red flag. And I would seek counseling. There's a lot of good counselors out there. I mean, maybe he wouldn't be willing to do it, but then that will tell you that if he's not willing to work on counseling, he's not willing to change and make himself better for you. So get out. Have a good life. You deserve better. As I initially told this girl, is that I thought she deserved better than my husband. I don't think that anymore. As frustrated as I am with him, I think he actually deserves better than a cult leader who manipulates and lies. So anyway, I also deserve better. I deserve to be treated like a child of God. I deserve to have someone who I can grow with. And you do too. If you're listening to this, you deserve someone who can grow with you and treat you as a child of God and support you just as much as you support him. Well, I encourage you all to look to Christ and live. I forgot one pretty big detail in all of this. Was before April 30th, when they were seeing each other one-on-one. I did ask them to stop, and they told me they would stop. Lemuel hadn't really been to the temple for years. He just wasn't interested in going in, which, I mean, I can encourage him to go and ask him to go. I'm like, hey, I got names you can take, but it's not gonna make him go. Well, this girl was I don't know what the word is. She babysit sessions. And so all of a sudden he wants to go to temple. So he goes to her sessions. So he was doing that. And then they would talk afterwards. And one particular day he told me, hey, I'm actually going to be home on time today. I'm like, great. So I log into work. And then he called me like, just as I was about to accept a job. And he said, oh, actually, no, I'm going to be late. So he decided that he needed to spend time with her after work. And it was actually not a good situation because another employee was bothering her, so she says. And so he came home upset with that. And he says, oh, what would you do if I left? I'm like, you're right. I don't have the money. I was like, what would you do? He's like, oh, I'd make do. I'm like, okay. I know. And I did wait till he calmed down to say, okay, what would you do if I left? He's like, oh, I'd figure it out. I'd be just fine. I'd be able to take care of Jason at work. Okay, I know where I stand. Anyway, and then he spent the rest of the night on the phone with her, texting her, calling her, and then also with this other guy who was supposedly causing problems all night long. He did apologize to me the next day, and she called me to apologize. And she brought me flowers to apologize. I'm sorry I'm taking all of your husband's time. He should be with family. And I'm like, yeah, he should be. They both promised to stop. And it was like the next day. Let's see. I guess that was a weekend. So then it was the next work day that they spent more time together. And then the next, I think it was the following Wednesday that he went to another one of her sessions, and this one, so it meant that I couldn't work in the afternoon, that he'd be out late, so I'd have to get Jason, my daughter, to bed all by herself. Which, I mean, that's his one quality with her, was that he would sing her bedtime stories and help her fall asleep. I need my sleep. He doesn't need so much sleep, but I do. So I can't stay up for an hour seeing her and then just have to turn around and have to get up before 4 o'clock the next morning. He didn't have that tight schedule. He could technically sleep in, although he didn't. So he'd stay up with her. So that meant that, when he wasn't there, she would sleep in my bed. So I'm like, that means that she's going to sleep in our bed, right? He's like, oh, I'll tell her not to. I'm like, oh, right. Father knows best, right? So obviously she slept in the bed with me. So he called me and said, like before he went to the session, he's like, well, actually, I'm going to be late because I want to stay late with her until she's done so I can walk her to her car. I'm like, seriously? It's at the temple. It's safe. I'm like, if she's that worried about it, just have her, take her keys and move the car for her so it's closer to the temple. Because they would park in the employee space was a little further away. I mean, she chose to park there. She could have parked closer to the temple just to work. So really, it was her trying to show what she could do, is that she could take my man or something. So anyway, I had a really big problem with this. That was right before April 30th. Like that Wednesday was right before April 30th when I texted her to stop dating him. So I did forget that detail. I did, you're supposed to ask someone to stop before you do something drastic. I did ask them to stop. They promised me they would stop. And literally 2 days later, they were spending more time together again. And that he went to her session and waited until she was done. She would get done 15 minutes after him or 20 minutes after him. So waiting 20 minutes. Why? And then he can't just be done with it. He had to walk her to her car and then talk to her for another 20 minutes. So that's 40 minutes past the session when he should have been home. So anyway, yes, I did ask him to stop. They did promise to stop, and they continued. And then that's when I sent the text. So in case those of you who think that I had to do something first before doing something drastic, I did.